It starts. Hello, my friends. Hello, fellow winners of Weight Loss Winformation. I have a really fun guest today. She's fun and funny, but also brilliant. And many of you who have been around the bariatric community probably have met her, seen her speak, or had her come and speak at your support group. So I want to introduce Anisa Grantham. Actually, I'm going to let her introduce herself pretty much. And we're going to have a fun chat today because she and I come from a very similar place in our hearts and in our trajectory in the bariatric community too. So we'll get into that in just a little bit. So welcome, Anissa. I'm super excited to have you here.
Definitely excited to be here. Thank you. It's a long time coming, don't you think?
It is. It's well overdue. God,
Yeah.
I can't believe I've done this podcast for 5 years. It's like, that can't be possible.
What?
I
Yeah.
know.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah. So let's start by having you introduce yourself, what you do, and then we'll just have a conversation.
Connie, not good at talking about myself. So where do I start? I'm Anisa Grantham. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm a psychotherapist in the state of Georgia. I am a trauma therapist. I've been in private practice now almost 20 years, just outside of Savannah, Georgia, and Rankin, Georgia. And I am a bariatric patient. I had gastric bypass surgery in July of 2002. And to say that out loud just always stops me in my tracks, Um, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, I'm all of the above. That's who I am. And right now I'm a full-time RVer. So that's my new
You do
we add a
not
new
know
one.
how you are inspiring me. And always have. It's interesting that we are both in the state of Georgia and
Yeah.
we have both been very active throughout the nation and, even internationally where we've spoken. And it's like people need to come to Georgia. We got it going
We
on
got it
here.
going on here. That's right.
We got some darn good bariatric therapists
Yes, we
in our neck
do.
of the woods.
We do.
Yeah, and I
We do.
really admire the fact that you and your husband reprioritized and are really truly trusting the process, living your dreams, still working, but not as much. I just really
I
respect that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
It's yeah, as we were talking, it's just again, I think of everything that I had experienced and that Wayne had everything we experienced in our lives brought us to that moment when we just kind of looked at each other and said, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah.
How are we spending our lives? And I'll tell you, I had an experience in 2022. I took did a workshop with a colleague, and it was on burnout. And
Mm.
this was before we were sick with COVID, and I was really questioning. I was one diagnosed in menopause, which is I think you could podcast all by itself. But, here I was, a bariatric patient, the long term success. But I was struggling with regain for whatever reasons, nothing had changed. And everything that I was practicing, prayer, meditation, exercise, tapping, music, everything that I knew to do to take care of me wasn't working. So I took this class and on burnout, and it questioned
Mm.
values and how we spend our time. And I thought, oh, if I have a little discomfort with this, then I need to lean in. I need to embrace this a little bit. And that's how, and then I get sick with COVID. Wayne gets sick with COVID. And, yeah. And then long haul COVID took over after that. And it's just been, it really everything fell into place. Then we start questioning and look at what we value, who we value, how we're spending our time. And I was saying that my family, my husband, work was what work was what I did in order to have what I love, and I love my work. I love my work. That's the piece that was always so tough for me too, was where does that fit in? Um, but
It
when I
is
think,
hard. It is
yeah,
hard in our
yeah,
roles because we get very invested.
yes,
And we both have so much passion for the work that we do that it's hard to imagine it not being a
not,
big part of
yes,
our lives. But it's so
yes,
interesting, the
yeah,
timing. And I think,
yeah,
it's partly a developmental thing, age
right,
developmental.
right,
But it's interesting because you and I were just talking, and you come to a point where it's like, there's this much of my life left compared to that much of what, and
right,
my
right.
values, like yours are, I want to spend it with my husband, my children, my grandchildren, and my close friends.
Best friends.
So, and I've done that. I've
Hmm.
made a priority to see my friends who live in other states. We travel
Right.
together every year, all those things. And it's interesting. I have a really good friend, and she is the one that I sort of process through all of my dilemmas in life. And
Hmm.
I've known her 30 some years. And she said to me, interestingly, a couple of, maybe it was probably earlier this calendar year. And she said, what I've always admired about you is you make your decisions based on your priorities. And when you and
Hmm.
I were talking a minute ago, I'm like, oh, I'm in the process of making some big decisions. And I
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
I
Yes.
know the
Yes.
priority. And when you said when you have attention, lean into that. And one of
Yeah.
my favorite people, Andy Stanley, he has a,
Mm.
a
Yeah.
little sentence: pay attention to the tension. When you've got tension going on related to decision making or whatever it is in your life, lean in, pay attention.
Right.
And that piece of wisdom right there is good enough for our podcast today. But we've got so much more.
There's more.
So you had your surgery in 2002.
2000, July of 2002. Yeah.
Were you a
2020.
therapist at that time?
I was. I've worked in the field of addiction and recovery since 1990. Became a counselor in 94, and then started working on certification and licensure after that. I got my master's degree in counselor education, and so I'd been a therapist, working in the field, and was in recovery. Right, so I got sober in 1990 as well, and
God,
that, yeah,
another way our lives
yes,
parallel. I got
yeah,
sober in 89
yeah.
and then did a whole bunch of therapy and then went back to school.
There you go. Yeah, I went to school, and while I was in school, my professors said every therapist needs a therapist, and if you haven't been in therapy and you don't have a clue what your clients are going to go through, then you need to get in therapy. And and of course, being in recovery, I was taught, that the 12-step program deals with this, and if you need extra, you need more, you go and you seek help, that this is what the 12-step
Absolutely.
program is for. So getting into therapy, years after getting sober, really changed my life as well. I mean, it's been a part of my life and continues to be a part of my life, so yeah.
Exactly. So, gosh, I have the absolute utmost respect for you. And I think our messages to patients very much parallel one another
Parallel, yeah,
over the years.
yeah,
You've got the added, I don't know if I should call it benefit, but you have the felt experience and the lived experience
right,
of having been through bariatric surgery,
right,
which from a trust standpoint, if I'm a bariatric patient, I am
right,
100% trusting you
right.
and seeing your 20, how many years? 23?
23 years.
23 years of doing really well. I mean, I don't know that anybody can find somebody as as
Yes, yes.
what is the word? As right for this job or
Mhm.
right for help as you are. So I love that you're still involved in
Oh,
the
definitely.
community and remain so
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah. When I first had surgery, my surgeon was Dr. Champion out of Atlanta, who passed away years ago. But he he had us sign a contract to attend support group meetings.
Wow.
Now, being in recovery, I know I know the benefits of support group, of peer support. And I attended. I did. I'm a rule follower, so I follow my contract that I signed. And I had an experience with the support group leader, and it was a community support group. So it was in Savannah, a community support group, and the leader one night brought in a Happy Meal, and and she had not had the same type of surgery that I had, and she and she said, "Oh, it'll take me the whole time to eat, and I don't absorb 100%, and all of these things." And I just sat there thinking, those are my trigger foods. I'm sitting in a support group right now. It would be like going to an AA meeting with a fifth sitting, in the seat next to me. And I thought, I don't want to feel this way in a support group that I come to for support. Like that was my whole thing. So I reached out to
Holy
Dr.
moly.
Champion. I did. I reached out to Dr. Champion and I said, one, I'm done with all my support groups, and two, I'd be willing to do a support group, a satellite group for you if that's something that you'd be interested in. Because I think we need to be on the same page. We need to be sending the same message to people. And again, it was that idea of sitting in with my trigger foods, or and teaching people, that there's a way to get past the cravings, a way to get past the triggers. That there are things that we can do, but to know that I want people to come and feel supported. So I started his support group, satellite support group, in 2002, and it's been, I've been doing it. I've never stopped doing it. I
That is
might have taken
great.
a side seat to let others the lead group and do group, but we have been able to offer that satellite support group since 2002, and
Wow.
even after his passing in 2016, we've continued to do it. Long term success is based on staying connected.
Hmm.
It's about staying connected.
So
You know.
that's one of the core messages that I really want listeners to hear,
Yeah.
because unfortunately, I think so many people still believe
Yeah.
going into surgery or starting a GLP-1 that this is going to be the answer and everything will be fine. But you and I, coming from a field of recovery, and I know that without the aftercare in my
Yes.
recovery program, there's no way I'd have stayed sober. I didn't have the skills. I was
Right.
ill equipped and I was unprepared. And
Right.
that does not lead me to a place to be able to get through difficult times like the
Right.
holidays, like the fast
Right.
food on every corner, like every
Right.
commercial that is about food.
Everything. Yes.
And that appalled me when I came into the bariatric community, because when you and I started in this,
Yes.
there were some support groups, but as you and I know, most of them were repeating,
Yeah.
the stuff that people needed that first year. But
Right.
beyond that, there are so many things that people face that they're not prepared to. Because if you had
Right.
had the skills, you might have made some different choices to begin with. If I had
Correct.
had the skills to live my life as a healthy adult, I probably wouldn't have used food. I probably
Right.
wouldn't have used alcohol. I probably wouldn't have
Right.
used prescription pain medication to numb
Right.
myself
Right.
and distance
That's
myself
it.
from the real issues I didn't want to
Right.
face.
You're right. And learning to trust myself more than I trust the food, more than I trust the sugar, more than I trust the substances. And that's the piece that, again, I think, when I think of Weight Watchers, there were so many things. So the support groups that we attended with, there were just so many things that could fit. But then we didn't get into the deeper stuff that really needs to be that really needs to be addressed for so many who have bariatric surgery. And for me, it really was, I understood so much more. But then when I started struggling with regain, I was dumbfounded. I didn't know what was happening. I wasn't eating at anybody. I wasn't eating for those same reasons. There were things that were going on, and metabolically did not understand that
Right.
there were certain types of foods that I needed to have a decrease amount of, um, or I was going to be regaining weight. And that came back with, in 2000 2008 was really when I started struggling with regain. I had had my skin removal on my arms done, and 3 weeks afterward, ended up having to have emergency neck surgery, a fusion. And I opened up, my arms opened up.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, one day, one the next day. My
Ah,
surgeon was just like, "What's happening?" And he was wonderful, but it was, double anesthesia in a very short period of time. Wasn't getting in enough protein. Like, there were just so many things that started happening, and I was out of the gym for 6 months. And the idea that, what have I done? What have I done? I should not have had my arms done. I shouldn't have done, like all the shoulds, and, as I say, shooting on ourselves, right? So this idea of all the shame started feeding this idea of, okay, I was eating, then I started eating popcorn, or I started eating carbohydrates and high amounts of sugar, fruits, more so than anything else. And 20 pounds, 25 pounds came on like
hmm,
that. And I didn't want to tell anybody. I was out of work. I had colleagues that were helping me at the office because I couldn't work. I mean, my arms were open.
right.
It was a time. And when I was struggling with telling the nurse at the doctor's office what I was eating, she said, "Send me your food log." Send me your food log. I am not telling you what I'm eating. If you lost your mind, I can know, because I knew, like, there was that part of me that just knew. And it wasn't until I sent the food log and she was like, "Oh, Anissa, oh no, girl." Then it was like, okay, I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know.
Right.
And there were certain things that I was taught when I first had surgery. Don't drink with your meals. Wait an hour after your first bite before you drink again. Eat on a schedule. There were certain things that I followed to a T, because I did not want the obesity coming back. Want to. I didn't want to fight the rest of my life like this. And
Mhm.
and for the first time, I wasn't fighting. And then all of a sudden, now I had regain, and I didn't understand. So I start doing the loop, right? It's the decrease, eating 3 meals a day, just getting away from all the extras that I had added. And I signed up for the Lighten Up Expo in 2009,
Mhm.
and that was out of Atlanta. And I went up. Dr. Champion and his group was a part of all of that, but I attended a support group leadership training with Colleen Cook and Janine Hall and Bariatric Support Center International. And during that support group leadership, they were talking about the Success Habits Workshop, or the Success
Mhm.
Habits of Weight Loss Surgery Patients.
Mhm.
And at first break, I said, what is this? What are you talking about? Bless you.
Thank you.
And they had a book, and I said, I don't have time. Like, what is this? And I was not aware that there was bless you, based research on the success habits of weight loss surgery patients. And
Mhm.
again, just one of those, okay, I've got the therapy part down. Like, I've
Right.
done my work. What is this? And that's when I tell you, in 2009, that's when my life started shifting with what I was eating, how I was exercising, the things I was doing, tracking my food consistently, even more than I had been. Years go by, you start
Mhm.
slacking off a little bit.
Right.
Even though I was going to meet, doing my support group, I was going to meetings, I was doing the things, I was staying connected to people.
Right.
I was meal prepping. Those were the things that I knew worked for me.
Right.
Um, but then understanding a little bit more body composition. The success habits of weight loss surgery patients was talking about body composition in 2000,
Way ahead of its time.
way ahead of its time, and looking at body fat percentage. I was a heart
Mhm.
attack waiting to happen
Mhm.
before I had surgery. My
Mhm.
body fat percent was 51%.
Mhm. Mm-hmm.
And today it's 32%. So, when I think about where I was and where I am today and the
Right.
being healthier, and how we look at how I defined healthy back then is
Mm-hmm.
so much different, so
How do
much
you
more
define
different.
healthy now?
Oh my gosh. It's about my emotional and physical well being,
Mm-hmm.
right? And how I take care of me, not based on how others tell me to take care of me, but what,
Right.
what I know works for me.
Right. Paying
And
attention to you. Like you said earlier, trusting yourself.
trusting
Trusting
myself.
yourself. You said
Yeah.
a couple of things in there that I really want to highlight for
Yeah.
listeners.
Yes.
And one of them was that you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And that the truth of that statement is that is a lifetime. You
Yes.
don't know what you don't know. And when we think we know everything, we're in trouble. We
Right.
are in trouble.
Oh,
And I learned some things at the Obesity Help Conference a couple of weeks ago that really made me not, it didn't like completely
oh,
alter, but
right.
it highlighted something for me. And you also said this, you knew the therapy part and you were doing the things, and then your body changed and things were changing within your physiology, and
Yes.
regain was a part of that. And I think that for patients and every professional in the bariatric community, whether it's a registered dietitian, a surgeon, a uh, athlete, trainer,
Hmm.
a psychologist, a therapist, everybody who works in this field, I think that a negative thing is we get really stuck in our lane and we think our lane is the lane. And if
Right.
everybody would just pay attention to our lane and do it
What
the way we
we're doing.
say.
That's right.
But
Yep.
the reality is I can help you and Anissa can help you with a lot of the tools and
This
skills
stuff.
that you
Hmm.
don't learn from
Right.
a dietitian. But
Right.
if you're not paying attention to that dietitian, you're missing a huge piece of information. And if you're not paying attention to the MD physicians who understand biology and cell change and things like menopause and what happens to your body at those times, you're also missing a big piece. So the reality is that obesity is such a
Yes.
multifaceted disease. And
Yes.
every area of that needs constant tweaking and looking at that. And we can't overlook any of it. And
Mm-mm.
my bias for our profession is
Right.
that we're the one kind of overlooked, because if you look at weight programs historically, it's about the food you eat, the intake, it's about the exercise, and it's about how's it affecting your health. All great
Calories in,
things.
calories out. That's it. Yeah.
But what a lot of other peers don't understand is that if you don't have the skills to set boundaries with people, you're likely to give into things that aren't going to help you and lead to regain. If
Right.
you don't believe in yourself enough to stand up for yourself,
Right.
Anissa's example of going to Dr. Champion and saying, would you like, I would be interested in doing this.
Yep.
That takes a confident person, and a lot of us, I don't care what you've been through in life, lack confidence and willingness to ask for things we want, let alone stand up to any kind of conflict. So
Right.
we are here to teach you those things and how to calm down when your body gets triggered from
Right.
past trauma, which almost all of us have experienced, so
Mm.
that in our adult
Right.
life, we're not fight, flight, freezing, or fawning.
Fawning. Yep.
So we want to help you learn those and how that inner we want to help you learn how those things can be interfering with
Yes.
your ability to follow through with what you need to do to keep that weight off.
Yeah. And that I honestly, that's the key to understand. for people to understand themselves is to sit with themselves. I had to sit. I've been a journaler since early recovery, and that was, to get to know me. That's the way that it was explained to me. This is a way to get to know you. You want to get to know your thoughts, write them down. You want to get to know how you react to people, write those situations out, so that you're able to see and you're able to dissect, right, and really look at what you think about, who you think about, and again, now, because I didn't go through treatment for recovery, right? So not for that recovery, but the idea that understanding, I can identify triggers. I can identify who pushes my buttons. There are buttons that I turn on and I go, here you go. This is yours. It's right here. Oh, yours.
Yeah.
It's over here. Here.
Exactly.
If you're an eye shot of me, yeah, I got your trigger. It's turned
Yeah.
on. Just push the button, please. Like that's the piece. But there are some people that don't know those things.
Right.
They don't know. And again, it's just recognizing, and there are some people who don't sit with themselves. It wasn't easy for me to sit still, because if I
Mm-hmm.
sat still, I started thinking. If I started thinking, I started feeling. If I started feeling, I was in front of the pantry or in front of the fridge, and I did not know what led up to it. I just knew I was bored, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
reaching in, and boredom had nothing to do with it. I was thinking, I was feeling. I was feeling, I was feeling, I was feeling.
Yes. And that
That's an
is
F word. that
that is a huge F word. And it's one that people often don't want to deal with. Hence transfer
no,
addiction. And this
right.
is something that the physicians
Oh,
need to
right.
understand, that the dietitians, but patients, you're the one in charge of your health. Ultimately, the help you seek out beyond having surgery or beyond taking a GLP-1 is 100% up to you. And there's
Personal
so much
accountability.
free information out there.
Yeah.
There's so much free. I mean, I have 250 plus podcast episodes that is free information. So when people are like, I can't afford therapy, I'm not the
You
only
don't
one
have
that has a
that's
podcast. There
right.
are thousands of them. You can get information on anything.
Yeah.
Um, Anissa speaks at all kinds of support groups, and they're
For free.
free and they're open to people. There's a lot of free information. So
Yeah.
I understand that times are tough for people
Yes.
financially. But
Yes.
honestly, that's not a reason anymore to not
Mm-mm.
get some good,
Mm-mm.
solid information.
Right.
Surgeons, dietitians, therapists, it's all out there. And there's so much free information that you can get. So one of the things that I heard you say as a key point is have a community.
Yes. Have a
Stay in
community.
touch. Then
Yep.
another
Connection.
thing is learn yourself. Get comfortable with the discomfort. Sit with yourself.
It's going to be there. And I think that's the other piece, is that, when food was there, we didn't feel the discomfort, or if we did, it was numbed, and we move on. The idea now that if the food's not there, because now we've had surgery or we've had GLP, we're using a GLP, then now all of a sudden we have this stuff come up. And sometimes it's referred to as the food noise, right?
Mhm.
And because now I'm feeling things, I'm thinking, yeah, this is the stuff that sits at your soul. That was the stuff that sat at my soul. And again, even though I had done the work, there was still more to come up, because food had been used for a very long time. And though, just when I think I'm done, I'm not done. It's this idea of,
Sure.
again, we're always getting better. We're always progressing, right? It's progress, not perfection. And this idea that
Absolutely.
there's always going to be more, more revealed as we go on. I think of I'm pulling back the
Layers of the
layers of the
onion.
onion, right?
Absolutely.
That's what my sponsor would do, like,
Yeah.
oh, that's just another layer right here.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's, yeah, it's just another layer. And not having the food, not having the carbs, not having the sugar, now the feelings got real. They got deeper, they got harder. The relationships that had to be addressed, or things that had to be said, that weren't said, that sometimes it's not about the other people. I don't have to say things to them. I just have to get it out of me. And that's where
Right.
the journaling comes in, right? That's where, again, just getting it out. Tenny McCarty from Shades of Hope, she said something once that I've held on to. I told her I was using it for the rest of my career and the rest of my life,
Hmm.
was there's more room out here than there is in here. So when I get it out here and I actually look at it and I see it and I go, oh, that's what that was. Yeah. And
Yeah.
here it's really big because it's in
Takes up a
here.
lot of real estate
Right. That's
inside.
right. But when I
Hmm.
get it out here and I see it for what it is, it's like, oh, okay, I can do something with this. I'm okay.
Yeah. Plug for
You
Tenny McCarty, boy. She did the world a great service
know?
by showing that program she did some years ago and then writing that book,
Yeah, Shades of
um,
Hope. Yeah.
Shades of Hope. Really, really good book.
I actually I did the intensive program with her back in 2015, 2016, 2016. I I said I wanted to either do it as a professional or as a
Right.
personally for myself.
Sure.
So I did it personally for myself, and it was just a year, 2 years after my dad had died, and there was just so much stuff that was still sitting there that I
Yeah.
knew, and Tenny has a way.
Yes, she does.
She just has a way, and I honestly felt that if there was something there that I wasn't being honest about, or there was some denial going on, that I just knew that she would have a way of getting that. She would have a way of getting that out of me,
Right.
if there was anything there. And there was so much that I walked away from, so much that I had still held on to.
Mhm.
It's the idea of, yeah, just having broad shoulders, or that I can handle
Right.
anything. I was taught to carry the burdens of everyone. I was taught this, and again, it's just, no, it's not my stuff. It's not, I'm not responsible for other people in their issues or their problems or their
Absolutely.
addictions or any of those things. It was really so profound. But I had an opportunity to, we were traveling back this year from Arizona,
Yeah?
back to Georgia, and I texted her and I was like, hey, how far are you from Abilene? And she was like, 20 minutes. And I was like, can we visit? And and here's my husband Wayne,
Aw.
who had heard about her for years.
Sure.
And of course I've read the book and did the treatment and did all of this, but to sit there with her, as a mentor and as a friend,
Yeah.
with my dog and her and my husband. I mean, we're just sitting there just having a conversation in our
Mhm.
RVs parked out in our front yard, like that's
Love
the
it.
it was just full circle, very powerful. And again, it's about connection. It's about
It
connection.
absolutely is, and that's another main point that I want listeners to take
Yeah,
away.
yeah,
There are some people that I've worked with over the years, and first of all, from a personal perspective, I one of my best friends, one I can count on 100% to love me and say, "And Connie, your part is what?"
right.
You know, I
Right.
met her shortly after I went through treatment, and another one of my good friends I met in my PhD program, and I mean, we're talking 35 years,
Right.
that I get when I have something going on. I In fact, next Sunday, I'm heading to Dallas just because I need some time with her
Yes.
to help me process the upcoming changes in my life,
Right.
developmental and lifespan changes, like my husband's retirement. There's a lot of change that comes
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
that and some decisions we have to make. And she knows me and she'll point out my crap and
Right.
help me
That's
dig
the
right through it.
best.
And
That's
those
it.
are the kinds of connections we encourage people to have.
Yeah. So many people wait. They think I won't go to support group because I don't need to. I'm not having a hard time.
Yeah.
Support group isn't about when we're having a hard time. That's not what support group is about. It's about paying it forward. It's about, I'm not in a bad space or a tough space right now, but I have been, right? So when I'm not in a tough space, I get to share with others the things that work. And then when I am in a tough space, I get to sit and listen to others, and always listening to others and have them share what works for them. That's the piece that comes. It's paying it forward. It's being a part of a group. People get it. I'm
Yeah.
not going. People in support group are not going to be saying, "Come on, Nissa, come on, girl, just have a bite. One
Can't you
bite
just
won't
have
hurt you.
one?
Come on, what do
Yeah.
you mean? I don't understand." They that I don't have to explain myself. And the way that
Absolutely.
it was, when I first got sober, the way it was said to me was that I could walk into a room, I can walk into an AA room or a 12-step room anywhere in this world and be a friend, and be friended, because everybody in that room knows exactly what it feels like to walk through that door. And that's the way I
Right.
want my folks to feel when they join our group, that you are right where you're supposed to be. We are here for you. There's no questions. There's no judgment. We get you. We get you, and come on
Without a
in, and
doubt.
the good, the bad, and the ugly, it's all here.
I always say if the world exploded and I ended up in some place that I didn't know anybody and I didn't have any of my people with me, the first place I would go to would be a 12-step meeting
That's right.
because I
That's it.
would feel comfortable, I would feel at
That's it.
home, and I know that
That's it.
people would help.
Yeah. Yes.
And the other thing is a support group for bariatrics, it's like when you do hit that place where you're having a difficult time, if you have listened to
Hmm.
other people being vulnerable and you need to be
That's right.
vulnerable about right now, you
That's it.
have people there. And maybe you will meet some best friends if you're willing to be
To be
vulnerable in those
vulnerable. That's
groups.
it. That's
Because
it.
if we're the ones sitting there going, I got it all together, who wants to
Mm-mm.
be around that person? I
I
want
mean,
the person who's
that's
like,
right. What do you
yeah,
mean you still go to me? That's it. What do you mean you
yeah,
still go to meetings? Like, why do you still do support group? Oh, because I'm not here. I'm here for you. I'm here for me. Like,
yeah,
because that's just it. In order, yeah, you got to give it away to keep it, right? That's the idea. So it's this idea, the mentality, and I think that's what's different at times for some, is helping people understand the meaning behind support groups.
mhm,
If we can have people understand surgeons programs, surgery centers, and doctors offices that are prescribing GLP-1s, like, get connected with people, and not just on Facebook or not just online, but actual virtual meetings, closed meetings where you can go and be and connect with people. Um, that's the piece, because look, my surgeon, he passed away. His office is no longer. So if I didn't have support group, now granted, I've hooked in with another bariatric program that takes care of my stuff long term, but the idea that I had what I needed in place, that's the part, that I think is really important. And in getting surgeons and dietitians to, you know, it's not, we're not just going over nutrition and, resetting our pouch. No, we're not doing any of that. Like, no,
exactly.
no, no. We're going to talk. We're going to have a conversation,
And
and
I
we're going to,
understand if I'm a surgeon or a dietitian or an exercise physiologist,
right,
I'm not trained. I'm not there to do this stuff.
right,
But I know and I see this stuff. So refer
right.
them and tell them what an absolute critical part of this recovery piece this
Yes.
is.
Yeah,
Can you explain what you said? You have to give it away to keep it. I think people who aren't of that recovery world may not understand that
right,
phrase.
right. So, in in order for me to keep what I have, my serenity, my sobriety, my peace of mind, my calm, um, my relationship with my higher power, all of that, in order for me to keep what keeps me together, I have to be present and give it away. I have to share my experience, strength, and hope. That's what recovery is all about. And I get emotional about that, because vulnerability begets vulnerability. And when someone was willing to sit with me and be with me through the dark stuff, through the dark times, through the happy times, this idea that somebody was present with me, and they shared their experience, strength, and hope, what they had been through. So, in order to keep what I have to be present. Can you? Sorry.
We got the CB, big buddy. Nah,
He's got, so we are volunteering today, and we're working at the state park, and
I love that.
we've got the radio on in the background that needs to be turned down.
That's all right. You're giving
Yeah,
it away. Giving it
that's
away.
it. That's right. So yeah, that's the piece of, I I'm present. I sharing my experience, strength, and hope, and someone was there for me, and that's what I think of. Even
Yeah.
in those, first couple of support groups that I attended when I first had surgery, somebody was there for me. Somebody understood,
Yes.
and somebody listened to. It's not easy when we first have surgery, and it's not that it gets easier. I don't want it to sound like, it doesn't, because Lord knows it does get much easier. And taking away the power of the scale, taking away the power of the weight, and just being able to be in our bodies and enjoy ourselves, enjoy our lives. And I
Yeah.
say, this is the life that I prayed for, that I prayed to be in a healthy body where I could spend my days doing what I do, bike riding, and walking my dog, or just, and anything that I want. That's the peace. I get to live the life that I choose today. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? Everybody needs to hear that. You also get to choose
Yeah.
within,
Yeah.
the
Yes.
serenity prayer. There are things we cannot change,
Change.
right?
Right.
But you take what you can change and you make it into the life you want.
Yeah.
And that requires a mindset. It requires fighting
Yes.
negative thoughts. It requires that community. And I just want
Yeah.
to talk more about that
Yeah.
vulnerability piece, because people are
Mm.
afraid to be vulnerable. They're afraid to show any kind of perceived weakness.
Right.
But it's not. All of us are okay
It's
with
strength.
somebody
Yeah.
else
Yeah.
crying or
Right.
asking for help, but we don't
Yeah.
give ourselves those same
That's it.
permissions.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, the more honest I learned over the years to be with myself and with others,
That's
the
right.
easier everything has gotten.
Yeah.
If I sit here, and a lot of times I'll choke up on the podcast too, because it's like
Yeah.
I could never have imagined the kind of life I have today. And it is only because I was willing to do those
That's right.
really scary things, like walk into my first AA meeting,
Right.
like tell a therapist, I've done these things and they're not nice, and I don't feel like a good person. And I have these little children and I don't feel like I'm a good mom. And the other thing is, I don't know how to be a good mom. And,
Right.
all of those
Yeah.
things.
Right.
And to
Yeah.
let somebody else be there for you and with you. And then, like Anissa was saying, to be there and give to other people. Life is about connection, friends. It is about, I love so many Brene Brown's quotes. It's like,
Yeah.
living through your own past is the most courageous thing you'll ever do.
Yes.
Like looking at what happened in my life, could be little T trauma, big T trauma,
Right.
maybe no trauma, but doubtful. But
Right.
but just living through it, just saying, this is what happened in my life. This is
That's
how
it.
it affected me. This is how it's still affecting me in my life. And this is how I'm working to
That's
not
right.
let it control my life.
That's
I am
right.
creating the life that I want, but it requires vulnerability and honesty with self
Showing up.
and others, safe
Definitely.
others.
Yes. Yeah.
Another
There's.
thing you said was
Oh.
about, and I think people are afraid if they go into therapy that they're going to be forced to go confront their mother.
Right.
No, you don't have to do that. Like Anissa said, you could write
It's
it
not
out.
about them. That's right. It's not
That's
about them.
dealing with it. Or you can tell your therapist, that's dealing with it.
Yeah.
It's not about, we're going to go relive trauma. We learned a long time ago that is not helpful to
Mm-mm.
people.
Mm-mm. And I think too, what I tell my clients often is that you've already survived it. You have already survived. You've already survived the worst part of all of it. You've already survived it. You're on the other side of it. What's sitting at your soul, that's what's affecting you and impacting you today. That's what's blocking you, right? It's this idea of, okay, now what do we do with that? Because the hard stuff's done. It's done. You've survived it. Now let's sit there. That's the residual. That's the stuff that, again, if it's shame or whatever it is that's sitting there, let's get that out. We don't have to go deep, and everything is, oh, my childhood, and I have to go through all the trauma again, big T little t. No, no, it's what is sitting there
What's left
that's
of it.
that's blocking you from living the life that you want to be living today. What's
And
still there?
I think people are afraid that I'm going to feel the way I did then. And you may have those
Right.
feelings of
Yeah.
like you did when you were 7. But I
Yes.
remember the day my therapist said, "You don't have to live there anymore."
Mm-mm.
It was just like, "Oh, thank God.
Be
I
where your feet
really
are.
don't.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't have
No.
to live there in my mind either,
No. That's right.
but I have to deal with the residual, the pain
Yes.
it caused." And I love Gabor Mate says that trauma, what happens with trauma, there's an event or a thing that happens, but the
Mhm.
damage is the pain that it causes on the inside.
Yes.
And
That's
that's what we have to work
continues.
with. It's the pain that continues because we live it out. We live
Yes.
out of that pain and we don't recognize it in ourselves.
No.
So,
Because we
you know,
think it's about the weight. We think it's about,
yes.
we think, okay, I have surgery. I have, I lose weight. I'm on a medication. I'm losing the weight. That's my problem. No, weight is not the problem. Food is not the problem. It's been the solution. And if
It's,
we link that, it's understanding that food isn't the problem. Food's become the solution. It's
have
when
you
things
read that article? Do you know the article called Obesity, Problem, Solution, or Both?
no,
Oh man,
no. What is
I gotta
that?
tell you briefly
Okay.
about this.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would love for every physician in the world to read this article. And I really was fortunate during COVID. I got to be the keynote speaker for the ANSMOS conference, which is like our ASMBS, but it's
Yeah.
New Zealand and Australia.
Okay.
And so it was virtual. And I
Uh,
presented that article as my talk because it's written by physicians. And it started with the Kaiser Permanente, and it is the
uh,
thing that led to the ACEs study, the Adverse Childhood Event
oh
study.
yeah. Yes.
And so they wrote this article. What they were doing was this huge weight loss program through Kaiser Permanente, and it was a liquid diet. People were losing weight as fast as people who had had bariatric surgery. But what they found was that people were leaving the program. The people who were successful were leaving the program and they didn't understand why. The people who obviously were eating stayed. And so they started investigating, why did you leave? Why are you staying? The people stayed because they liked the support group.
Right.
The people left because they were so uncomfortable with what they were experiencing as they lost the weight, which was their protection. So that led to these doctors doing a huge in-depth study on like 300 of their patients. And what they found, they said, we didn't have a clue about what obesity was about. We thought
Mm.
it was about calories in,
Calories
calories
in,
out.
calories out.
And they said, what we found is that these people had
Wow.
all kinds of issues. You know, food was a protection, weight was a protection. We've
Weight was,
taken their
yeah.
protection away, and people are not really willing to give up their solutions.
Right.
And it's
Right.
an amazing article. And these
Wow.
physicians were like, you know, it's easy for physicians not to deal with that stuff because we can say, A, we weren't trained, B, we don't have time. True and true. But you can refer that.
Yes.
And so that's how the ACEs study got started. And I think I really wish all
Wow.
physicians would read that. It's powerful. I'll send you a copy.
Yes. Yeah. That's
Actually, I'll
great.
put a link in the show notes too, because
Yes.
I,
Definitely.
I send this
I'm going
link.
to do a support group on it.
Good. Yes. Every patient that I see for a pre-surgical evaluation, I send a link to this article
Wow. That's
because
powerful.
it's so powerful to me.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and that's what they were saying. Yes, there's a lot of complicated biological things. And when you go through menopause, your body changes and
Right.
all those things.
Hormones, hormones, hormones. Yes.
Right. And PCOS and that
All
impacts
of it.
weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
That's all reality. And so
Right.
that is a truth. Another truth for some people is that the weight is a protection.
Yes.
It's a psychological protection and it's not seen by people as that, even the person who's carrying the weight, because
No.
they don't understand until the weight goes away that they're starting to feel like, oh my God, panic and these feelings and these don't want people looking at me and talking to me and touching me. It was a protection.
Right.
So it's a really, really super article.
Oh,
Obesity,
thank you for
problem,
that.
solution, or both.
Problem, solution, or both. Mm.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Thank you.
So when you do your support group,
Yeah.
how does it work?
So it's anisagrantham.com support group. You click on the tab on my website, and you
Love
put
it.
your name and email address, and then the link gets sent to you. It's on Zoom. We do it the third Thursday of every month at 6:30 Eastern time, and
Amazing.
yeah, and yeah. So
So
it's really fun.
when Anissa says you can't keep it if you don't give it away. So my podcast, her support group, this is how we give away what was given to us because
Freely.
we
Yes.
can't maintain our clarity of thought, our prioritization of recovery, our prioritization of making sure I'm cleaning my side of the street, at all times. So
Right.
this keeps us accountable to us.
Yes. Yes.
And sharing it with other people is part of that AA 12-step
But
tradition.
what's interesting is even in some of the books that I've read, on trauma, on recovery, on, even the success habits of weight loss surgery patients, so many books, back on track, so many books that refer to connection, refer to, support groups, refer to personal accountability, refer to giving it away to keep it. Um, there's so many books refer to what the 12-step program, is foundational, right? It's
It
foundational.
really
It's,
is.
it,
It's
so when
brilliant.
I read these books and I'm like, you've got to be kidding. This is recovery. This is all
I
recovery
know.
stuff.
It's so recovery. Yeah.
It is. And it
Next year,
works because it
beginning
works.
in January. So one
Yeah.
of the things that I do every day is I read from a 12-step book. And then I just do a little, this is what this makes me think of, and this is how you can apply it in your bariatric world, whatever. So I post those videos on two websites. One is Bariatric 12-Step Recovery, free Facebook, it's not website,
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Facebook page. And the other one is in my program, Bariatric Care. Well, this year, what I'm going to do is everybody who's in bariatric care, I'm really going to encourage them, whether they have addiction issues or not, to work through the 12 steps with me in a very, very active way. And we'll meet once a month
Wow.
as a group
Yeah.
and really work through these steps because a good friend of mine long ago was talking to her doctor and she said, I don't know if I'm an alcoholic or not, but should I go to these AA meetings? And he said to her, it doesn't matter if you're an alcoholic. The 12 steps are an amazing way to live life regardless. And I find that to be so true.
Yes. Me too. I think anyone could benefit from, any of the steps, but to work them in order. The idea is that, again, it's freedom from self, freedom
It
from,
is.
freedom from self, freedom from
Uh,
this.
Yeah, freedom from self. I interpret that as like not buying my own BS, right?
Right.
We can talk ourselves into anything and make myself,
Mhm.
I can make excuses for why I'm doing this, or I can find all kinds of rationale for doing that.
Right. Mm-mm.
Pooey.
No, nope, for sure.
So when you do your support groups, I want to come back to your support
Yeah.
group, and
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
speak at other support groups, and I would
Mhm.
really encourage you to have Anissa come and speak at any of the support groups from
Yes.
your programs. I don't know anybody that's better than Anissa.
Thank you for
What
that.
are the main things you like to speak about if they say you pick the topic? Because what do you
Oh.
think is most important?
There are, I think I have seven, honestly. And I've just recently added the food noise because that seems to be, it's trending. Everybody wants to talk
Right.
about food noise. But I talk about, I'll be honest, the success habits of weight loss surgery patients is my go-to. It's the introduction to the six
Mhm.
principles identified through research and
Mhm.
um, evidence-based curriculum. And then we go into self-care. Ah, self
Mhm.
care. and learning how, this new roadmap of taking care of ourselves differently,
Right.
setting boundaries, and learning how to say no, learning how to say no to ourselves as well. It's not just about saying no to other people, but
Can
it's
you
about
say that again? Oh my God, that's one
saying
of my favorite things I tell people. It's not just setting boundaries with others. Sometimes we got to say no to ourselves. We don't get to have the cookies.
right. It's having to come into Jesus meeting. That's what I call it. Having to come into Jesus meeting with myself. Like, have you lost your mind? What are you thinking right now? And it's not just about eating. It's about, working. It's about, again, not, doing things or talking to people or being with others that, are not healthy for us. And we know that. And it's like, what do you do? Have you lost your mind? Wait a
Yes.
minute.
Love
because
that.
because people will show you who they are. I
Mhm.
will show me who I am.
That's
Hello.
right.
And I have to pay attention to that as well. And it's like, is this who I am? Is this who I want to be? Is this the step? Is this where I want to continue to go? And it's just recognizing. So, self-care, a new self-care map, thinking
Love
about
it.
ourselves differently, connection, how to create a world around us, a support system around us with people who are going to be our cheerleaders.
Mhm.
And cheerleaders, meaning that they're also going to call us out on things too, that they're going to be honest with
Correct.
us. It's my mom once said to my brother, he said, I'm gonna ask Nissa, and she said, they had this conversation with me, and she said, I told him, now you know how she is. So if you don't want to hear the truth, don't talk to her about, because here's the thing, life is short. And I can tell you what you want to hear all day long, sugar coated, blah, blah, blah. I can be that person if you need me, but that's not who I am. And again, I've had plenty of people in my life who have told me exactly what they thought I wanted to hear, but did not tell me what I needed to hear.
Mhm.
And the ones that stuck around were the ones who that I trusted to see through what they I needed to just because they loved me, because
Right.
they loved me and they wanted my best. And those are the people, the cheerleaders. Those are the ones who are going to lift me up and, and keep me where I need to be, um, and call me out when I need to be called out lovingly, without those intentions that are harmful. So yeah, so that's and then I do the relationship with food. Now it has kind of changed over the years, but it's an affair with sugar,
Mhm.
and the relationship with food, and understanding how does this relationship begin. Relationships have a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? And it's just recognizing. And I'll be honest, this is a presentation I did back in 2010 at the Lighten
Yes.
Up Expo when I was asked to speak. And I have, over the years, it's just gotten tighter and tighter with things that I've learned, more and
Nice.
more that I've learned over the years. And again, it's a brain chemistry and understanding the physiological shifts that are happening, but neuropathways and how we can. I didn't believe all the negative stuff when I first heard it until I
Mhm.
started listening to it. I fed into it. I gave it all the power, and then I believed it, and if I can do that with negativity, then I can do it with positivity. I can do it with positive thoughts. I can do it with reality, and knowing that, no, I might not like who I am, but I want to like who I am. I might not love who I am, but I
Yes.
want to love who I am. I might not be a nice person, but I want to be a nice person. Like, if I'm not going to lie to myself and say, "Oh, I love me. Oh, I'm the best thing ever." No,
Right.
but I
Right.
wanna, but I want to like me. But I want to be
Yes.
the best person to myself. Like, I want to, and as long as we have a want, then there's a willingness to change. That is
Right.
there. It's built in. It's
Yeah.
recognizing that for ourselves. So the relationship with food, again, has taken on, the faces of addiction. I talk about transfer addiction after bariatric surgery. These are things that your surgical program is not going to be truthful or honest or forthcoming with. Not every
Right.
program talks about, you know what, we really recommend abstinence post-op. No,
Right.
programs aren't going to tell you that. They're going to say, well, 12 months, maybe 2 years, but, just
That's
no,
right.
no.
Yep.
So
Yep. Yep.
I talk about transfer addictions. Those are my biggies. And the other is accepting ourselves at any size.
Amen.
Self-acceptance at any size, that I'm not going to be good to me when I get to a certain size, that I'm going to wear
Exactly.
color and I'm not, like I'm going to do my
Yes.
hair, I'm going to do my makeup, I'm going to take care of me, I'm going to go out and, walk, I'm going to
Yes.
accept me as I am at any size.
Yeah.
And
And I
that
really
needs
like
to,
the idea of self-appreciation too.
yes,
You
yes,
know, self-acceptance and self-appreciation and body acceptance and body appreciation.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
That, being able to understand that, my arms hold the people that I love,
that's
that
right.
my belly and my legs get me to the destination that I want to,
That's
where I
exactly
want to
right.
go. Like those are the things. So
Yeah.
I do, even when I, say those mean things, because I don't do this perfectly. So when I say those mean things in my head, it's like one of those, like, what, really? That's not
Yes.
okay. That's
Yes.
not okay. We're not thunder thighing me today. These
Yes.
legs got me across a half a marathon finish
That's
line.
right.
These legs, get me on my bicycle and ride a bike. And,
That's
you know,
right.
I get to walk with my husband and do things hand in hand. Like those are things that
Oh, I love it.
I get to do. And I get to do
So,
them.
any chance we can have you come back and talk about that sugar relationship?
Ah, look at you. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
I would love that so
Yeah.
much, and I know the listeners would too because sugar's an issue.
Sugar is an issue. And I always thought that, well, I'm a pasta person, so I'm not a sugar person. I'm safe. I'm not like those people. And then I had a dietitian put me in my place, like, oh, that pasta breaks down to sugar and your brain only
Yeah,
knows one thing. And then it was
yeah,
like,
yep.
yeah.
Swatted that right out underneath you.
Oh yeah, that's those. And you know what? That was in 1995, and she's still in my life today.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's the kind of connection yeah. Because if
That's
somebody could
beautiful.
call me out on that, then I'm good.
And what year did we meet?
We
2000
met we I don't know if you were in at the program in '09, but I know in 2010 I was with Bariatric Support Center International with Colleen Cook and the Success Habits of Weight Loss Surgery patients.
That's
And
right.
your table was right. You and Steve were right next to us,
Yes.
and I spoke. I was actually I was asked to speak at that conference, and that
I
was one of those,
remember
like,
that
oh my
well.
gosh, I could. And Katie J
Yes.
was, oh yeah, and Katie again, she's one of us, and that idea of, I could, you guys were the ones that were showing me that I could do this, that I could, one, I could be in recovery and be successful on so many different levels,
Yeah.
and that
You
I think
know,
of my bariatric surgery the same way.
I just met up with Katie.
Did you?
Yes. And you know,
She
she
is
wrote
dear,
that
so
amazing
dear.
book, The Stages of Transformation.
Yes, yes.
We are gonna
I've
be
had her on my support group, so I'm glad.
yes,
Are you going to
she
do
and
it
I
with
are
her?
going to make we are going to collaborate and because when I read that book, I was like, "This is amazing, but boy, it could sure
Yes.
be flushed out." And she said, without even me saying that, she said, "This book is good, but it could really use a lot more depth." And I was like, "That's the exact thought I had when I read your book." She said, "But I need somebody to work on it with me. Will you work on it with me?" I'm like, "Heck yeah," because it is a good book.
Oh, I did an interview. She was looking at doing more with it, and we did an interview last year. Yeah, she's good people. I
She's a
love Katie.
good person.
Love
She
Katie.
is, yeah.
She is.
And
She's a
you
good
are
friend.
too. And
Thank you.
what a great asset you are to this community on so many
That's
levels.
kind. Thank you. That means a
Yeah.
lot.
I
Thank
mean,
you.
you
Thank you.
are in my mind like the top of the top of the top of the professionals in this community. So I will
Thank you.
post all your stuff and then we'll
Ah,
schedule another day for you to come back and teach us all about that
yeah.
sugar thing.
Oh Lord, yeah. Let's talk about it.
All right. Well, enjoy your
Definitely. Thank you.
traveling around in your RV. I'm so impressed by that. And I love it. All
and
right.
and and good luck to you with your next,
Thank you.
with
All
your
right. We'll
next
be in
endeavor
touch.
here, for sure. Thanks,
All right.
Connie. All right, I
Bye, guys.
appreciate you. Bye bye.